Well, thanks so much, everyone, for attending here at our IVC PLM PD event tonight with Peter Piccone. We're so excited to have him and really excited to learn from him. And I'm going to let him introduce himself, talk about his background and everything. But
Yeah.
this will be, like you said, this is going to be a conversation. So we're really looking forward to conversing and learning together.
Thank you, Kristen. Nice to finally meet you face to face. Although, didn't we also meet in Chicago? Were you in Chicago back then? I think
I
we
was
met,
in Chicago. I was, but I don't think
right?
we met, did we?
I think very quickly in the hallway for a little while. Yeah,
Oh,
we
maybe
gave
we
a.
did. I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. So Chicago was a long time ago. Forgive
I,
me.
I was the one that came all that way. We gave the presentation in the day, and then I was supposed to get the award the next day. Went out with a bunch of friends, and my alarm didn't go off. Do you remember
Oh,
that? One of the more embarrassing moments of my life. I really still apologize for that, but I slept through the award ceremony. Yeah,
it
that was a great.
happened and it
That,
was
that was
early.
great. That was something else. Well, thank you. Hey, I'm going to, for those of you who are here tonight, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Peter Piccone. I am a San Marino High School social studies teacher. San Marino High School is located just outside of downtown Los Angeles. I don't know, about a half hour northeast of downtown Los Angeles. It's a public school, K-12. We've got about 1,200 kids. In COVID right now, of course, those numbers have gone down considerably. I've been there for a long time. I think this is my 32nd, 33rd year. I have taught all the social studies courses, with the exception of the economics course. And if anything, if I blog a lot, I present a lot, and usually on topics having to do with, if you will, innovation in education. Where is education going? How can we get there? I love to think of my classroom as my own laboratory. I get to either learn about some ideas or come up with my own ideas and then test them out in my lab. I have great kids to work with, a great supportive community all the way top down. No, nothing is ever completely perfect, but all in all, it's a great place to work, and I'm very fortunate and very grateful. Over the years, I've won a number of really nice awards and/or recognition for pushing, if you will, the innovative envelope. One of those was, in fact, in the terms of what I did with video conferencing. And the great irony of all of that is, for years, had a real reputation for showing people what they can do with Zoom. And of course, everybody today is an expert on Zoom. So no one's calling me anymore to ask me about, hey, what about this? What about that? Not reading my articles anymore, at least the ones on Zoom. So what I would like to talk about, I do have quite a bit of experience, even before this year, teaching in the online environment, teaching both students and adults. I wrote an article at the beginning of the year that is up on the PBS Teachers Lounge website. And it basically describes what I have learned about over the years about teaching online. I'd like to share some of those with you. But I'd also like to hear from you. And so before I go any further, let me just see who I have in the room today. Jackie, you are. You want to just quickly tell us about yourself?
Sure. I work at the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco, California, where we are a natural history museum, science center, and aquarium all under one living roof, which you can actually see behind me. And I am our education specialist for our distance learning program. So we've been doing these for about 6 or 7 years already, before the pandemic.
Where you are, then you know all my good friends at KQED, right?
Yeah, I have some great friends at KQED.
So I've been associated for a while, and I ran their In the Classroom website for a while. Today I'm one of their ambassadors. I have a nice jacket, but I love the folks there. It's been a great association. So Morgan, how about you?
Hello there. I am a middle school English teacher / social studies as of this year, at a middle school just outside of New York City, about 25 minutes outside of Manhattan. technology just new, as of last March, when I was thrown into my district telling me, do what you'd like. If you want to go live or if you want to go asynchronous, it's up to you. So of course I couldn't leave my students hanging and just jumped into Zoom, not really knowing anything about it, and really just using it as my way to teach to my students and to connect, honestly, just to connect and to let them know they're not by themselves. But I don't know much more beyond the fact that I use it as my way to talk to my students, my ones that are at home and my ones that are in the classroom, because I teach hybrid. So.
25 minutes. There's 3 ways you can go in New York City. Are we talking up along the Hudson?
Yes.
Are we talking Dobbs Ferry?
No, Rockland County,
Well,
Tappan
okay.
Zee Bridge, that area.
My family started in the village and then moved its way up. My uncle and aunt had a house on the Hudson overlooking the river forever in Dobbs Ferry, so I know it well. Yeah. And so then we have Megan.
Hey everyone. So I'm here in actually Sydney, which is middle of the day here.
My.
And I work at the Australian National Maritime Museum, fairly new in my role here. But yeah, looking forward to new and exciting ways we can sort of innovate and have some brand new programs digitally to sort of, we're a national museum, so we need to be able to reach students all across Australia.
The National Maritime Museum, boy, that when I hear that, I start to say, no, wait a minute, what can I do with that? What can my students do with that? I live in Los Angeles. I had a sailboat for years. I love getting the kids to work with anything having to do with the sea, the sailing, all of that. So interesting. Did I leave anybody else out there? Kristen, do you want to tell us anything?
No.
Oh, wait, actually, we've kind of got you already. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you got me already. I'm the least important person here. That's okay.
And Ben, do you want to throw anything in there?
Yeah, no worries at all. Hi, everyone. I'm Ben Newsom from Physics Education. We can't spell F-I-Z-Z-I-C-S, but we teach science and have done for the last 17 years. But also, so we visit hundreds of schools face-to-face by driving out to schools and doing presentations. But for the last 10 or 12 years, whatever it is, I've been doing distance learning all over Australia and around the world. In fact, this time of the year, I often connect to Ohio schools and I often have no sleep. And I'm doing it yet again this week. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. I have been involved with the IVC PLN since 2014. I've been on the leadership team for a while. I'm lucky enough to be a president for one of the years. I also co-founded the group called Virtual Excursions Australia, which actually Megan's involved in, which has at its peak had about 40 different institutions and all sorts of different varieties of key learning areas, trying to work out how do we run engaging live events in different platforms. And so that's still humming along. We actually have an event in a couple of weeks, 2 days actually, on a high school showcase. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun. I'm certainly Peter. Jen Zanita said you've got to listen to Peter at some point when you get a chance.
Nice.
So I'm really looking forward to it.
Really enjoyed working with Jen. I'm going to share this with you. So this is something that I wrote, and I still firmly believe in. This whole venture into the world of online learning, no matter how experienced any teacher was coming into, let's say, go back a year, March is when we all shut down here in California. No matter the experience level that anybody possessed, I maintained, and I still maintain, that we were all relative equals, the vet and the rookie. And by that, what I did is I equated that to being a canoe paddler in the Lewis and Clark expedition. So all teachers, in my opinion, all educators, as we're exploring this world of online learning, we are really fundamentally entering into a territory that has a tremendous opportunity, but also tremendous challenges. A world that has relatively been unexplored. Sure, there have been certain pioneers that have gone before, just as there were in the Lewis and Clark territory. It's not as if Lewis and Clark were the first ones who ever ventured in. But this venturing right now seems different. Now, I could be wrong, but it seems different. It seems like more are going in, more are going to find out that some of the benefits, learn about the benefits, learn about the challenges. And so we're all really equals. We all can learn from each other. That's the kind of, if you will, the first real big lesson that I have drawn from all of this. And the other one is we are all going to be, and I'm finding especially now, exhausted. Just like the members of that expedition. Not that I've read any of their diaries, but it just stands to reason. Probably a whole lot of excitement when they first went in, a whole lot of trepidation as well. But somewhere a year in, imagine what they thought, imagine what they felt. That paddling, that routine, fatigue starts to set in. And I don't know about you, but I'm really seeing that right now. I have a quick story to share with you. I poll my students almost every year. Sometimes I skip a year. I'd like to poll them in September, in February, and then at the end of the year. And I simply ask them two questions. I say, to what extent do you enjoy my class? That's question number one. Scale of 1 to 10, to what extent do you enjoy my class? And a 10 being, I really enjoy your class. Then I also ask them, to what extent are you enjoying your other required courses? Just because I want something to compare my score to. I tell the kids up front that a score of 7 or better, in my opinion, is a win. It's a win. Sure, I'd like to have 10s, but that's just not realistic. I mean, politicians today, if you get 7 out of 10 people basically giving you a thumbs up, my goodness gracious, you'll never be voted out of office. Nobody ever gets that. It's always 50%. So I've been doing that for a number of years. And for a number of years, I've always gotten over 7. I've always felt like it's a win. Does that mean that I don't try to improve or do anything different? No, you're a 7. I want to see if I can get an 8. At 8, I want to see if I can get a 9. If I get a year at 9.9, I want to say, oh my gosh, why didn't I get a 10? And then in September, the numbers always drop. Well, this year, September 22nd, when I did it, I had a 7.8. And early in the year, that wasn't, I was thinking normally I get around to 8 something, depending on how successful I connect with the class. Wow, this is kind of interesting. We are all online. This is 100% online. You want to take a guess what the score was here just 2 weeks ago? Average score, I got 140 kids. You want to guess, Morgan? You want to try that?
Well, if I had to guess from what my students look like in
yeah.
in the middle of the year, I'd say it was lower than
it went lower. It went lower. It went down to a 6.4. And I shared that with my admins. So, I have a lot of experience with this, and I have a lot of confidence that I know how to make this work. I show a lot of people things to do and how to do things, but how to engage kids, how to build rapport. I write articles about that. But all of a sudden I have a 6 point, whatever, 6 point, did I say 6.8, 6.4? I'm sorry. Did I say 6.8? That was wishful thinking. It dropped all the way to a 6.4. And so you have to ask yourself, oh my gosh, what's it going to be at the end of the year? And is it just me? Now, because I asked that other question, I can tell you, no, it isn't just me. It's the other classes as well. And I doubt seriously that there are many out there who would report the opposite, that their numbers are somehow going up. My admins are so interested in this particular survey that I did this year that my principal just wrote an email to all the teachers, and he said, hey, what he has observed is as a staff, we are doing a job that he believes is as good or better than anyone else in our little valley is doing. We all have our little networks, and we all talk to, and we hear what's happening. Can he quantifiably prove that? I don't know, but my gut would tell me my staff, our teachers, they work hard and they're very conscientious. Probably, if you looked at our staff all the way around, we're doing a better job than most. And we're getting 6s out of 10s, 5s out of 10s. And some of these teachers are equally experienced. What's that all about? What's that all about? So yeah, I have ideas. Megan, Morgan, Jackie, Ben, even Kristen, do you want to take a shot? I mean, do you have, if I said to you, yeah.
I was just thinking, I love Zoom. You can't do this for years and not love what this platform does, but I feel like the kids, like, they got to look at this box. I've been describing it. We're looking at a box and we're looking at it for hours on end. And my God, my eyes hurt by the end of the day. Now, poor kid who doesn't want to concentrate, of course, irrespective of the lesson, they're just over it. You could be the best thing ever. It's like, man, I've been on the screen for 4 hours. I mean, it's just tough. I mean, what are everyone else's thoughts here?
Yeah.
I completely agree. And I think, pandemic fatigue is a thing. In the beginning, it was kind of a novelty to have this ability. As a matter of fact, I remember in the very beginning and having used Zoom for years, it was still a novelty to use Zoom because now everyone knows how to use it. And let's do Zoom happy hours and Zoom family reunions and things like that. And after a while, I was like, I just can't do another Zoom. And not only that, but yeah, okay. So interaction is the most important part of education and connection. And I can interact this way and I can connect with people this way. But right now, it looks like you're all looking directly at me. And when you answer Peter, it's still going to look like you're looking directly at me because you're looking at the computer, not at me. So it doesn't mean anything. When I'm in person and I see you looking at me, I know you're looking at me. So there's a connection there that doesn't exist. Even though you're staring at the computer and it looks like someone's paying attention to you, they're not necessarily really doing that. In person, you can really tell when someone's looking at you and connecting with you. So I just don't think that exists this way anymore.
Anybody else want to comment?
I've had a lot of students tell me, because I feel like at this point right now, I'm starting to lose them. And I never really felt like that. One thing that I really pride myself on as a teacher is the relationships that I build with my students. And by far, I think that's the most important thing when it comes to your first year at middle school for me. And I see the kids, zoning out as I'm performing this one-woman comedy routine every single day in and day out. And they're telling me that they're tired, they're easily distracted when they're home. There's just something right to their right that they could pick up and play with. And they feel like they're hearing me while they're just playing, but that isn't really the case. And so they're just exhausted, and there's multiple distractions around them that are there for them.
Is there anybody else who wanted to comment there?
I was just going to comment. Luckily here in Australia, as museums, we're able to reopen and have students back on site. And it's really interesting just to see, people were saying that, everyone knows Zoom now, you'll get heaps of people wanting to do virtual programs. And particularly for people who can't come to Sydney, that's still the case. But all the schools here want to come on site because they've had enough of Zoom learning for the moment. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I'm sure in the future, it'll kind of get some of that interest back. But at the moment, a lot of schools are like, no, we want in-person experiences a lot more than digital experiences, because exactly what you've all been saying, it's that Zoom fatigue at the moment.
I feel like
one of
the synchronous versus asynchronous is honestly going to become more a thing. I think right now we're synchronous. We're chatting and we're in the zone, we're talking. But we can't do this for 6 hours straight. I double dare us to all sit here for 6 hours and chat. It ain't going to happen. Kristen's shaking her head like, no way. Jackie's going, no, not a chance. So I kind of feel like learning we can do it this way and go, you know what, guys, I'll see you in 2 hours. We've got a project. And then we'll do synchronous again. I kind of wonder if that's going to be maybe the solution, at least until this COVID thing goes away.
Well, Ben, that's a perfect segue to what I was just going to say. So one of the things that I wrote in the article, one of the lessons that I have learned over the years and put into the PBS piece was that you can go ahead and try to teach online the way you taught face-to-face, but with time, you'll probably find that it doesn't work. You're going to have to give, exactly like Ben said, your students an opportunity to get away from the screen and to work on some kind of project. Now, I was fortunate because my principal backed me on this. We have 5 periods a day, 50 minutes each, Monday through Friday, and then we have a Monday through Thursday, and a 17-minute period on Friday. So it's basically like it normally was, give or take a few minutes. And my principal is a big fan of project-based learning. So I went to him and I said, hey, based on what I've experienced, I'm only teaching half the 50 minutes. I'm only teaching 20 to 25 minutes. I have an AP US history course. This is a school of high expectations. And I said, and I'm not doing more than that. I'm going to let the kids do a project every day, the remaining 20 to 25 minutes, long-term, high-end, teacher, student driven project, an attempt to produce something first semester and something else second semester that would be engaging for the students. They have some voice and choice in the matter. Also some options in terms of how they're going to report out, research, writing, but fundamentally something that will open wide the eyes of college admission officers everywhere. My goal was, I want you to teach the world US history, first, second semester. It's got to go up online. It can be a writing, it can be a video. I'd like it to resemble the work of some other successful educator in this regard. I call it a resemblance video if you're going to do a video. But more than anything, I want it to have impact. I want it to be a wow piece. You've got the time to do that right now. Now, that did really work well first semester. The kids got into their projects, and we had great work to show for it. I created a website. Board member, people in the community commented about it. Deciding to give up that much class time, even if it meant a loss in terms of test scores, did seem to make a difference. So lesson, if that regard was, don't try to do what you did. Cough up a good chunk of time for the kids to be away from the computer and do project-based learning. I thought that was going to carry me well into the second semester, that February survey that I did. But then when I asked the kids about it, so what happened? Why did I get a 6.4? They said something to me that was really interesting. They said, you started to then make those first 20, 25 minutes of the period very content focused. You wanted to make sure that we learned the content. Then you gave us the remaining 20, 25 minutes of the period, but we were kind of off on our own. You know what you stopped doing? You stopped building rapport. We don't even know you anymore. Whatever happened to the fun guy the first few months of school, where you would tell us little stories, you show us pictures of your family, your dog? Because I had written into my article, one of the most important things we're all going to have to do is more systematically go about building rapport. In the class, we can build rapport in simple ways where we don't even have to think about it. How we dress, the car we have when we drive into the parking lot. There are a million and one ways to build rapport with kids where we don't have to conscientiously plan for the rapport. And rapport is important because without it, in the long haul, kids burn out. That's what the science shows. It doesn't lead to better test scores. It leads to kids wanting to stay engaged in the class. Without rapport, they burn out and they walk away. And so what was really interesting for me the second semester is they said, because you gave us the 25 minutes to do with the PBL, that's cool, but then you stopped building rapport. All you did was you taught the content and then you kind of sent us off on your own. So, I'm not satisfied with those 6.4. So I've now recommitted myself to figuring out how to build rapport. And yes, I have a ton of ideas on that, but Kristen, Ben, Morgan, Megan, Jackie, any of you, what is a favorite way that you conscientiously try to build rapport with kids over Zoom, long distance?
So we just started, we're working in book clubs right now, but one of the things I did to alleviate that stress of talking and for them to kind of get to know each other better is I just did a really silly, ridiculous icebreaker, and so I'd say something, all right, you have two choices. It's a movie that's going to play forever, every single day, whenever you turn on the TV, whenever you go on YouTube, this is the movie, Goonies or Karate Kid, which one? And then I send them into their breakout room, and I'm hearing finally, because I wasn't hearing this, I would hop into the breakout rooms and I'm hearing them laughing.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, she's here, like as if I were walking into the classroom, and it was just something as simple as that. A quick, pizza or ice cream, which one? Like they were like kids again.
One of my girls, very bright, who has kind of burnt out. She told me, whatever happened to the report, she said it to me. She came to me today and she said, hey, over the weekend, she was thinking about fun ways to build rapport. She said, would it be all right if next week at the beginning of class, I just say to the class, hey, what was it? Bread or, I don't know, it was something like that. What do you prefer? Bread or, I don't know. I can't even remember, but it just caught me. I was thinking, yeah, what would I say? And she said, can I just put that up there and see what happens? It's exactly what you're talking about, Morgan. Just
So simple, right?
Right.
But like, why didn't that even cross my mind in a
Mhm.
breakout room to do that first thing?
yeah, exactly.
I think that's a
Megan?
great idea. And I love especially, giving the students the ability to come up with their own as well, because now they're going to kind of really try to outdo each other and do really fun, funky, crazy ones, and they'll get excited again for it. But, it's that connection piece. I
Yeah.
think that's amazing and so important.
It seems to me
Megan,
like,
Jackie, sorry. Ben?
yeah, it just seems to me like we just have to avoid being transactional. Like,
Yeah.
here's your content, here's the syllabus dot points, and see you later.
Yeah.
We'll talk about more content.
Well, I
but
think, I don't know, I can't speak for all teachers for sure, but from what I've heard around my region, from the teachers around my region, we're so indoctrinated into test scores and being judged on the scores and wanting the kids to have great success, because that's what teaching is. No one's in it for the money, that's for sure. You're in it because it's a calling, but still, the test scores are important because it's how teachers assess, and so they're really hung up on that. And last year, when everything was crazy in the spring, but last year when they said, hey, the no standardized test this year, this like statewide audible sigh of relief, and people were like, oh my gosh, okay. And so I think in conversations I've had, there are teachers who are kind of just waiting for that, because some of them are still so hung up on that content, which is important, yes, but they're still so hung up on it that they can't let go, and they can't give the time for those connections and those icebreakers or those
Yeah.
project-based learning activities, because they have to get that content in. It's as if they're on the same timeline. It's as if the year is the same, and it's not. So they're so so bent on that they can't get out of it. And if the state would say, forget the standardized tests, then I think some teachers would be able to be like, okay, let's do something fun now. Well, teaching should be fun and learning should be fun. It shouldn't be, let's do something fun now that you're not going to be tested.
And to add on to that, Kristen, a little bit too, is why did my kid get off their Zoom early? That's what I hear also. If I'm like, all right, I'm gonna let you go, you're gonna work on this project by yourself. I'm gonna stay on Zoom no matter what, so you can always hop back on. But why did my kids get off early 3 times this week?
As if
Yeah,
you're giving up and you're going to binge watch Netflix or something, when in reality you're giving those kids some ownership over their own work and what they're doing. It's not that you're not working. If the world had any clue what the teachers have had to do, yeah, I'm sure the pressure's there from the parents too, in the community.
Can you all see the screen here? Can you see where it says room 404 wall space? You're seeing
absolutely
that, right?
We can.
So just something that last summer, here I am with all this experience, and last summer I'm teaching the course U.S. History online, and I have a very bright, talented girl in the class, very articulate girl, and her father's a well-known psychologist. And at one point, I told him I was writing this article for PBS, and I asked him to look it over, and he said, hey, I got to tell you something. He said, it's nice stuff, nice suggestions you're making, but he said, do you realize you're kind of losing my daughter right now? And I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, you're just not very clear daily about what you're going to do. I was one of those teachers in a face-to-face environment. I like to come in and I do my little thing, and then it's, all right, you guys, here's what we're going to do today. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't put it firmly up on the board because I don't have very good handwriting. And so he said to me, you really need to figure out a way to be more clear about the daily expectations. And so from that sprang what I call the wall space. And the wall space is also a wonderful little simple way to build rapport. So watch this. This is week 8. This is just the third quarter, week 8. And so every day it starts off with this agenda. I just post the agenda, and then I post the announcements. And it's all written up. It helps me to get much better organized. It satisfies those parents who say, let us all see exactly where you're headed, if you will. But in the spirit of building rapport, this is something I did at the very beginning. I wrote it into my article, share with the kids pictures of your classroom, share with them the visuals that let them get to know you better. But over the course of the last 2 quarters, hey, no, I stopped that because I had work to do. So now guess what I'm doing? I'm putting pictures back in that help the kids learn about me. A motorcycle ride I went on recently. I live at the beach. If I could show you, I don't know if this will work. I don't know. Can you see that window? Right outside is the ocean and the sunset, and there were whales. Look, this is there was a whale right here, standing right here, right outside the window, and that's a whale. Here's another picture of it. It's the weirdest thing the other day. Well, sorry, 1 and 2. So I'm gonna just share that with the kids. I decided to put an image up there. Hey, this is where we're headed now until spring break, because we don't get any more breaks. There are other pictures here. Picture of the dog. I just started to do this because of that desire to build rapport. Here are my slides. Oh, okay, and then I also showed them what I did over the long weekend. I have a whole story as it relates to these pictures. But to be honest, now look if you go through my slides leading up just January, look at this. That okay? I'm showing you one right after the other. That's what they were complaining about. They're saying you just dropped the rapport ball on us. So you know, I'm kind of going back. I want to see if I can get my 6.4 back up over a 7. Little things like that. Get to know you activities. Yeah. Anybody want to comment there?
My comment straight away is, and this is sort of goes, doesn't matter what industry, whatever it is that you do, I've always been a big fan of you can't improve what you don't measure. Just simple as that. And I just love that you just straight up go right at the very intent. I measure exactly what my kids think, and I take on board whether I like it or not. I think what you're doing is really cool. Just thought I'd just throw that as a comment.
You get a little bit more confidence when you've been at it for 30 million years. It was a lot harder to do it in the early stages, but I have a colleague who, you know, he's younger than I am, but he's been a tremendous mentor in some ways, and I give him a lot of credit. He was the one that said, "You got to do this." I also have a superintendent who encouraged me to do this, and so, you know, it became that way. But the project-based learning, I think, is a really big deal for long distance, and I believe being very intentional about rapport building is important. Ben, I have 1 or 2 more. How are we doing on time? How long do you want it to go?
I can hang for about five or 10 minutes. I can have this like recording in the background. I've got another meeting coming up, but definitely, guys, if please ask questions. Peter's got a lot of background in. He'll be able to help you.
5 minutes, I think would be great. I would just share this one last thing for you, and it's really a fun question. Is regardless of whatever lessons we've learned that can improve, where do you see school going once we go back? I mean, there's all this desire about let's go back to where we were. Between you and me, nobody's going back to where we were. There's no way you can go out into Louisiana territory with everything we've learned and then say, no, I'm going to go back to Philadelphia and do exactly what I did before I explored the Louisiana territory. Not to mention our kids. Think about the kids that have been in this environment now for a year. Tell me PTSD is not going to set in when we go back face to face. And if we do exactly what we did, say, for example, in the fall, that we did for the years before, they are going to have such a tough time adjusting that I think we're in for quite a surprise and quite a shock. But if we're not going to go back to where we were, what should it look like? What should it be like? And I think that is a wonderful moment for education. Another Louisiana territory exploration moment. I'll be curious to see where we go with it. Morgan, Megan, Jackie, anything you wanted to say?
I mean, I'm petrified to see what it's going to be like in September, because I wish and hope it could go back to normal. But like I said, I teach hybrid, so I have students who are in person and online. And when we're in person, it is so hard to get them to talk to each other like they used to.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's scaring me the most is how am I going to get them to turn and talk just about a book together and be okay with that? Because it's hard enough as it is right now. How is that going to happen in September? I don't know.
Yeah, gonna be interesting.
I feel like the only thing that we had overnight was the shutdown of the world in March. Here it was March 16th. And it really did seem like it was overnight. I know it really wasn't, but it really did seem that way. But I think that's the only thing that we can say that will ever happen overnight. The rest of it has to be a process. And so it's going to take, like you said, Peter, like PTSD, you know, this is going to take a while to rebuild. And so when we get back to normal, whatever normal might mean, whether it's exactly the same as it was a year ago or a year and a half ago, or slightly different, there's going to be, it's going to take time to get to a new normal, whatever happens to work for you as a teacher, for you as a student, for you as a district, for you as a, you know, in a museum. It's just going to take some time. And I think it needs to be relevant and meaningful to each person, but it's definitely, it's not going to be an overnight thing. I think it's going to take a while.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to add to this. I think that I sort of was thinking about what will happen when, you know, the external groups, the lobbyists, the people who push education around, because, hey, why not just push around an entire industry? But I kind of wonder what's going to happen with the people who say we need to catch up. And I think there may be even more. I see Chris and you just going, oh my gosh, because I can see this happening. I can totally see people going, well, we missed a whole year of whatever it is that they care about. And put even more pressure on teachers whose job is actually to rebuild trust and connection and everything, Peter, you've been talking about. I kind of hope that people actually hear what you've been talking about. Anyone listening in, watching this video, that this actually is a thing to think about. You know, stop, pause, reflect, and do. I feel that there is an opportunity to take those ideas and go, you know what, we need some time for these kids to rebuild connection, and then use all the fancy tech tools that we've all learned, because, hey, we've learned a lot of apps now, we've learned a lot of technology, but bring them in with intention and purpose, and rather than trying to do catch up. That's my feeling.
The one thing I think we can all agree that has been lost in the past year is connection, relationships. And if we go back, I hope that education will finally then say, because we need to rebuild relationships, and that takes time. We cannot do that in the 5-period antiquated system that so many schools still cling to, my school district in particular. I hope at that point we will see the end of the 5-period day, and we will see an embracing of block scheduling, if only to give teachers a chance, the time they need, students the time they need for the rapport building, for the bonding, for the connections. Those kids are going to need it. The teachers are going to need it. And so I'm hoping that will be one thing that comes out of COVID is the death of the 5-period day.
I know that we, when I was in the classroom, we used to joke around about how, like, teaching the actual content of your subject was like the last thing a teacher got to do in the list of things to do, you know, because we're counselors and we're some, you know, all kinds of stuff. And the content was at the last, at the end of the list. And that's going to be even more obvious, I think, going forward, because there's going to be there will be so many other things to do and address and use care for before you even get to the content. And the kids, as we all know, the kids can't learn the content until they're feeling safe, until they're feeling connected, until they're feeling loved and cared about, you know, and so until they make that connection. And there is a social curriculum that all teachers have to follow, you know, and we have to address that social curriculum before we can get to the academic part.
You know, I think about the hugs that I gave last year, the tears that I wiped away from kids' eyes. That doesn't happen because I have to apologize if I accidentally touch a child.
Yeah.
As if it's a bad thing to have contact, you know, it's so sad.
I want to thank you all for giving me a chance to talk tonight. As we were talking, I had printed out my article and I was looking through it. I was also looking through a much longer piece that I had written. And it's just amazing how many things that I had learned and that I had suggested in the article, which I have walked away from because there was so much else that needed to be done. So this has given me an opportunity to kind of reflect again on things I need to do, and I'll try again next week and see where it goes. So it's been good for me. I want to thank you.
we cannot thank you enough for joining us. I know, like, especially with everything's been going on, yeah, to even just give us a smaller window into your world has really been really helpful. Thank you. And
thank you.
I hope we can connect again. We no doubt will. Hey, we got the internet. We can do the things. but
Would love to.
look, much appreciated. Has anyone else got any final questions for Peter at all?
All right.
Thank you so much, Peter, for being part of this and taking the time to chat with us. And thanks to all the participants who came to have these conversations. This was nice to be able to have an interactive chat. It was a really nice format to have. So nice to hear your thoughts. And like Morgan said, you know, for helping her reflect, you know, it really gives everybody an opportunity to kind of think about things and the way things are now. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you all.
Absolutely. And so I'll just round this off. Thank you very much for listening in and watching this video. And for those people who are in here right now, hey, thanks for hanging out with us. This has been the International Society for Technology and Education Interactive Video Conferencing Professional Learning Network. Wow, what an acronym. 10 letters that keeps us very busy at all times and is a very supportive network. Please check out other videos that are on this. And look, definitely reach out to Peter as well. Hey, Peter, how do people get in touch with you should they want to know more?
Oh, my email. How are we going to do that? You want me just to kick it out?
Why not? If you're happy with that.
You know what? If you look up my last name, I write a lot. Paccone, Paccone. There's tons up there. But other than that, the letter P and then Paccone at smusd.us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Peter, for sharing that out. And we'll keep the spam to a minimum, please, if we can. And we'll put that. We'll certainly get that out to the right closed groups, and that's much appreciated. So thank you very much. And Kristen, I'll leave it to you to wrap up anything you might want to say about the IVCPLN. Have a great evening.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much again for joining us. If you're watching the video, or thanks to those who joined us live, we're so happy to be able to have these opportunities to share these wonderful presenters and guest speakers who have a lot of experience and expertise to share. Many, many thanks to Peter and all of our participants who are willing to talk with us. We have more coming up, so please keep an eye out on our social media, IVCPLN on Twitter, for more opportunities. And if you have anything to share, reach out too. We're all ears. So thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for coming. Good night.
Wish you all well. Good night, everybody.